So, you've clicked on this video because for some strange reason, you have to study Polish.
Night after amazing night.
Or maybe you have Polish friends. Let's face it, Polish people are everywhere in the world.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Peter. I'm a comedian. I'm Polish, but I grew up in the UK because I'm Polish. That's what we do.
And you want to know what they're talking about, or maybe if they're talking about you, or maybe you want to impress them, or the quite common one as well, your potential love interest is Polish. Whatever your reason is, I'm here to help you out. In each episode, we will analyze 2 or 3 phrases from one scene of a Polish sitcom, of a Polish TV series, of a Polish movie, and we're going to get you to be able to use those phrases straight afterwards. So without further ado, let's get started. To give you a bit of background, we're going to see a scene of 2 friends, Ala and Danusia, women, who are married to Karol and Tadzio. And these 2 couples are friends and they live in Polish city Warsaw, Wola district.
Robotnicy jutro rano tutaj wpadną, a wieczorem wypadną, a tu wszystko będzie gotowe.
To co, to może teraz rzucimy oczkiem na próbki?
Tak. Nie, to znaczy nie, bo za chwilę wraca mój mąż.
Wpaść, wypaść. So I called this an infinitive, but it's actually 2 separate verbs. So the first one is wpaść, and it means to fall in, and the second one is wypaść, and it means to fall out. As you can see, there's only one other difference, which is the Y, and the meaning is already the opposite. The thing to remember is we can't reverse the order of these 2 verbs in this idiomatic phrase. So first we say wpaść, to fall in, and then we say wypaść, to fall out. We don't say that in English, to fall in, to fall out, but we do say in and out of somewhere. So there is some kind of similarity that you can try to help you out in remembering it. But remember that in Poland, we actually fall in and fall out of some places to indicate that we're going to drop in there just for a moment. Okay, so here we have the full conjugation of these 2 verbs in the present tense. So I will first say them, and then you can repeat after me if you wish to try the pronunciation as well, just to give you an idea of how you pronounce it. So, ja wpadnę, ja wypadnę. Ty wpadniesz, ty wypadniesz. On, ona, ono wpadnie, wypadnie. My wpadniemy, my wypadniemy. Wy wpadniecie, wy wypadniecie. Oni, one wpadną, wypadną. So bear in mind that in everyday speech, we often pronounce the letter e, which is present in the ja wpadnę, the first person singular, the last letter, which is actually exclusive to the Polish language. I think we have equivalents in other Slavic languages, but in Polish, that's how we write it, with this little twirly thing at the end of the letter. We often just omit pronunciation of it in verbs. So instead of really pronouncing it as ja wpadnę, we simply say ja wpadnę. So we pronounce it as e, the normal e, instead of e. So just watch out for that in everyday usage, you often hear people omitting that, particularly if they speak a little bit faster. Okay, so now we'll have a look at some examples that we've seen in the clip, and some other examples that I'll show you myself.
Jutro rano tutaj wpadną, a wieczorem wypadną, a tu wszystko będzie gotowe.
So in the clip, Ala says that the workers will come in the morning and they will leave in the evening. And she uses this phrase rano wpadną, a wieczorem wypadną. To show that the workers will come for a short time to refurbish her apartment, or at least in her mind, as her friend tries to bring her back down to earth, actually, as it really won't take a minute to do that. But that's the key aspect here. It's a short period of time, but as in the speaker's mind, okay? So remember that. An example number 2. Let's say you have a husband and wife and they're going to a friend's house, okay? A typical scenario, in fact, and anyone can be on the way somewhere with someone. And as they are walking, okay, they should be there at 7 o'clock, let's say, and it's already 6:45. And they're almost there, but the wife suddenly sees sales in her favorite shop. So obviously she wants to go in, and her husband, scolds her, but he's saying her, there's no time for that, etc., etc. But then she can say to him, kochanie, dosłownie wpadną I wypadną. Honey, I'll be literally in and out, okay? So that's a typical usage, I'd say, and you can use it in any situation. Let's have a look at example 3. Again, a very typical situation. You have 2 friends, they're talking, gossiping, and one is asking the other if her boyfriend eventually came to her last night, to which she can reply, tak, wpadł I wypadł. Yeah, he did. He was in and out. He literally just came for a second, and that was not what she really expected. So, we also see in the actual clip this kind of idiomatic phrase, rzucić okiem.
To może teraz rzucimy oczkiem na próbki?
Nie, to znaczy nie, bo za chwilę wraca mój mąż.
Which basically means to take a look, to glance at something, okay? And the interior designer says to Ala, to może rzucimy oczkiem na próbki. Maybe we'll take a look at the samples. So it's a very useful phrase that's widely used in Poland, actually. It's funny, actually, because the literal translation of it is to throw an eye. So in Poland, we actually throw an eye at something to basically have a look at it. One thing to look out for in this example, in fact, is that in Polish, we make cuter versions of words, okay? Of any word, literally. So in this case, we have the example of oko, which is the eye, but its cuter version is oczko, okay? But as we look at the examples, we actually don't see neither oko and neither oczko. What we see is oczkiem. So it's not only a cuter version of the word, but it's here we actually have a cuter version itself that's affected by what we call in the Polish language przypadki, and there's actually 7 of them. In English, we call them cases, okay? And this word oczkiem is actually affected by the 5th case that modifies the way it is pronounced. And, cases is literally a linguistic term that changes and modifies the actual word to its traditional corresponding grammatical function within a sentence, etc. So we're not going to get into details of what it is, but I wanted you to be aware that there's such thing as przypadki, which affect the form of words. Just because you hear a speaker say a word which you never heard before, but it resembles another one that you know, it doesn't mean you don't understand the speaker. It might just mean that the word you're hearing is affected, or rather, I should say, modified by one of these cases. So just watch out for that. And let's have a look at examples. Again, very useful phrase, commonly used in a workspace. Let's say you have 2 guys and one of them is, doing a report and he wants to know what his colleague thinks of it. So he can say, rzucisz na to okiem, proszę? Can you take a look at it, please? So you see, very widely used. And that colleague, might glance through the report and he might respond, rzuciłem okiem I mogę potwierdzić, że ten raport jest naprawdę dobry. I had a look at it and I can say this report is really good. Okay, so there you go, a very common usage of it. And example number 3. Nawet nie rzuciłeś okiem? You didn't even look at it? This is something you can use in everyday life to say to anyone if you ask them to do something, to look over, I don't know, your report, to look over your presentation, to look over anything for you that you asked them to do and they didn't, and perhaps they already have an opinion on the matter. You can tell them, you know, you didn't even look at it, nawet nie rzuciłeś okiem, and you already have an opinion on it, i od razu masz jakąś opinię w tym temacie. So there you go. And one thing you have to remember, rzucić okiem means a quick glance. It doesn't mean a deep look at something, okay? So let's see it in context. Let's say you went to see Van Gogh's exposition. And after seeing the exposition, you want to say something about it. But we're going to look at an error that occurs here, okay? I know it's a long phrase, but don't you worry, you have the translation of it below. Widziałem obraz Van Gogha i kiedy rzuciłem na niego oko, stało się dla mnie jasne, że grube pociągnięcia jego pędzla są w rzeczywistości powiązane z jego niespokojną duszą. I saw Van Gogh's painting, and as I glanced at it, it became clear to me that his thick brush strokes are in fact connected to his troubled soul. So there is an error here. And I think you might already know it. And if not, just think about it. We said that rzucić okiem means a quick glance. It doesn't mean a deep look at something. And if you're looking at his paintwork, you have to look deeply, okay? So the thing that's wrong here is rzuciłem oko, I glanced at it. By glancing at something, by rzucić oko at something, you cannot know so much detail and come to such conclusions as in this example. So instead, you should have said this. I kiedy go oglądałem, stało się dla mnie jasne. And as I watched it, it became clear to me, okay? Because the verb to watch in English does indicate a deep look at something. For example, an artwork. Same with Polish. Oglądać is the infinitive of to watch. And here we have a past tense, actually first person past tense male version, okay? Oglądałem, for a woman, it would have been oglądałam, but that's basically what you should have used here. So you can't use the glance, rzucić oko. Another thing to remember, in Polish we also have something as puścić oczko. Okay, and it sounds similar, particularly if you're learning Polish, but it has completely different meaning. Okay, puścić oczko means to wink at somebody, okay? So it's completely different, often used in flirtatious situations, as you know. And an example, very easy. Anna puścił mi oczko, muszę mu się podobać. Anna, he winked at me, so he must like me. Okay, so there you go. That's the importance of these two phrases. I hope you enjoyed it. Now let's look at it again in a short clip, and I can see that you will already have a better understanding of it.
Zawodnicy jutro rano tutaj wpadną, a wieczorem wypadną, a tu wszystko będzie gotowe.
To co, to może teraz rzucimy oczkiem na próbki?
Nie, to znaczy nie, bo za chwilę wraca mój mąż.
You survived, and I'm really happy for you. I hope you'll be able to use those phrases straight away because that's the whole point of this video. In the description down below, you will find the conjugated forms for both women and men, because in Polish language, we do distinguish between the female and the male. And you don't have to subscribe, but if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, give it a thumbs down, because after all, that's what we have the bottom for. So thank you, and see you in the next one. Pa pa!